What if, at this very moment, a mysterious visitor from another star was gliding silently through the darkness of our solar system? Not a comet born from our own Oort cloud, not a fragment of rock left behind by the birth of our planets, but a wanderer from a distant stellar nursery, older than our sun, older perhaps than the Earth itself. Imagine such an object, moving with impossible speed, carrying with it secrets written in the language of chemistry and light, secrets that our most advanced telescopes can barely begin to decipher. This is the story of 3I Atlas, a name that already carries the weight of mystery. It is the third interstellar object ever detected by human instruments, and from the very beginning it refused to behave like anything we had known before. Picture the night sky. Imagine yourself lying under it, far away from the noise of cities, where the air is still and the heavens stretch unbroken from horizon to horizon. Above you, stars burn with ancient fire, each one a sun in its own right, some older than the Earth, some young and still wrapped in clouds of dust. These points of light are familiar, comforting, but hidden among them are things we cannot yet name, shadows that move in ways our eyes cannot follow, whispers from across the galaxy. It was within such a sky that astronomers, using their patient machines, first noticed the presence of something strange. High in the Chilean Andes, where the air is thin and the nights are long, telescopes sweep the heavens with mechanical precision. Their cameras capture millions of images, night after night, storing them in endless streams of data. Most nights, the patterns are predictable. Stars fixed in their eternal dance, asteroids moving as they should, comets flaring as they near the warmth of the sun. But on one particular night, the computers signaled something unusual. A faint light, a tiny point, drifting in a way that did not match the expected choreography of our solar system. The algorithms flagged it. Astronomers leaned closer. And so began the story of 3I Atlas. From the very first calculations, it was clear this was no ordinary comet or asteroid. Its path was hyperbolic, a curve that did not loop back into orbit but instead cut through the solar system like a line drawn from infinity to infinity. In plain words, it was not bound to the gravity of the sun. It had come from elsewhere, and it would leave again, never to return. That realization carried with it a profound sense of wonder and unease. To look up and know that a messenger from another star was passing through our cosmic neighborhood is to feel both awe and humility. Let your imagination drift for a moment. Imagine the journey this traveler has taken. For millions, perhaps billions of years, it has moved silently through the void, past stars that were born and died before our species even learned to stand upright, through regions of space where the temperature hovers just above absolute zero, where dust and gas float like faint smoke across distances so vast that human numbers fail. 3I Atlas has seen things no human eye ever will, carrying within its structure the fingerprints of alien suns, the remnants of explosions that occurred long before our world existed. And now, for this brief moment in cosmic time, it has brushed close enough for us to see it. As scientists began to study this object, their language became strangely careful. Reports spoke of unusual chemistry, of mechanisms uncertain, of phenomena not yet understood. It was as if they were speaking in code, cautious, reluctant to say too much, yet unable to hide their fascination. Why this careful tone? Perhaps because the anomalies were too striking, the implications too extraordinary. Perhaps because the last time a mysterious interstellar visitor had appeared, debates had erupted that reached far beyond the walls of science, into culture, philosophy, even speculation about alien technology. But let us not rush ahead. Tonight, we are not here to argue or to conclude. We are here to journey together, gently, slowly, into the unfolding mystery of 3I Atlas. We will follow the story from its quiet discovery, through the strange data that baffles even the brightest minds, to the possibilities, some natural, some astonishing, that arise when we dare to imagine. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, picture the object itself. Not the numbers and charts, but the physical presence of it. A body of ice and dust, or perhaps something more, tumbling silently against the black backdrop of space. Around it swirls a faint coma, a shroud of gas that catches the light of the sun, creating a veil through which its true heart remains hidden. Is it round like the comets we know? Is it elongated like that earlier visitor called ʻOumuamua? Or is it something else entirely, a form that defies our categories? For now, we cannot say. The object does not yield its secrets easily, and so we are left with wonder. What are we really seeing when we watch the data scroll across the screen? Are these lines and numbers telling us about a natural fragment of cosmic debris, or are they whispering of something more deliberate? Could it be that we are being watched even as we watch? That possibility lingers at the edges of the mind, never confirmed, never dismissed. Tonight, let us walk together along that edge. Let us slow our thoughts, soften our voices, and allow the mystery to unfold as a story rather than an argument. For in the quiet of the night, under the endless stars, it is not certainty that we seek, but peace. And sometimes, peace is found not in answers, but in the beauty of the questions themselves. So as you listen, I ask you gently, have you ever stood beneath a sky so clear that you felt both small and infinite at once? Have you ever looked at the stars and wondered whether someone, somewhere, was looking back? Welcome, beautiful dreamer, to this gentle space among the stars. This is Science for Sleep, a quiet refuge where we take the great mysteries of the cosmos and soften them into stories that flow as calmly as a river at twilight. Here, the universe is not something to be rushed, not a problem to be solved in urgency, but a vast ocean of wonder in which we may drift slowly, letting each wave carry us deeper into rest. My role is not to tell you what to think, but to guide you gently through possibilities, through questions, through marvels that sparkle faintly in the night sky. Some of them are rooted in science, in data, in careful observation. Others live in the realm of speculation, of whispers and imagination. Together, they form a tapestry, threads of truth and threads of wonder woven side by side, so that as you listen, your mind can relax, your thoughts can wander, and your body can settle into the peace of night. If this journey soothes you, if you find a little comfort in these explorations, I invite you gently, softly, to join this circle of listeners. A kind like a quiet subscription, a simple gesture of support. It means more than you may realize. It helps keep this small beacon of calm burning in the noisy sea of the internet. It allows me to continue weaving these slow, thoughtful stories, not just for you, but for anyone who needs a place of rest in the endless night. Yet please feel no pressure. This is not a space of demands. This is a space of stillness, and you are welcome whether you choose to engage or simply to listen, to let the words flow over you like the sound of rain against your window. And I would love to know where you are listening from tonight. Imagine for a moment the many places on Earth where people are hearing these same words. Perhaps you are in a city, where the glow of streetlights hides the stars, but the sky still holds its silent mysteries above the rooftops. Or perhaps you are in the countryside, where the night is darker, quieter, where the Milky Way itself might spill across the heavens like a river of light. Maybe you are near the ocean, where the horizon seems infinite and the rhythmic breath of the waves echoes the gentle cadence of the cosmos. Or maybe you are in the mountains, where the air is thin and clear, and the stars feel so close you could almost reach out and touch them. Wherever you are part of this moment. A single point of awareness, lying beneath the same sky that has watched over humanity for thousands upon thousands of years. A sky that was witness to the first fires lit by our ancestors, to the first stories told about gods and constellations, to the first questions whispered into the darkness. What lies beyond? Are we alone? Tonight, as you listen, you are adding your own presence to that long human tradition of wonder. What time is it where you are? Is it late, the close of a long day, when your body aches for rest and your mind longs to let go? Or is it early morning, the quiet hours before dawn, when the world outside is hushed and you alone are awake? Wherever the clock finds you, this is your moment of pause, your gentle retreat into stillness. And if you wish, share with me not only the place and the time, but also your dreams. Not only the dreams of sleep, but the dreams of imagination. Have you ever dreamed of discovering something extraordinary? Perhaps a hidden world, shimmering in the distance. Perhaps a message carried on the wind that changes everything you thought you knew. Perhaps simply the dream of peace, of safety, of knowing that the universe, though vast and mysterious, holds beauty in its silence. I read every message, every comment, not as data but as connections, as reminders that across this turning planet, there are countless others who share in the same sense of curiosity and awe. It is easy to feel small when we look into the stars, but smallness can also be a comfort. To be small is to be light, to be carried, to be part of something greater. And so, before we return to the story of Three Eye Atlas, I want to pause here in this quiet introduction to thank you. Thank you for letting me into your night, for trusting me with your time, for joining me on this slow journey. Together, we will walk through questions that may never be answered, but we will walk gently, calmly, without hurry. For the goal is not conclusion, but peace. Now, as you settle deeper into your pillow, as your eyes grow heavy and your breathing slows, let us begin again the story of discovery. Let us go back to the moment when this cosmic traveler first revealed itself, faint and fleeting, on the screens of observatories. Are you ready to see it through their eyes, as if for the very first time? On the first day of July in the year 2025, high in the mountains of Chile, the night unfolded as it had countless times before. The air at that altitude was thin and cool, carrying the faint scent of stone and dry earth. The observatories there are like quiet guardians of the sky, their domes opening with a slow mechanical grace as darkness settles over the Andes. Each evening, their cameras and mirrors awaken, scanning the heavens with patient precision, searching not for spectacle but for the quiet, subtle changes that might reveal a new story written in starlight. The asteroid terrestrial impact last alert system, whose name contracts into the almost poetic word Atlas, was built for vigilance. Its mission was never romance, but safety. Each night, it measures and records the countless small rocks and icy fragments that drift through our solar system. Most of them are harmless, but some could cross paths with Earth, and so Atlas keeps watch, a silent sentinel against the unlikely but devastating possibility of impact. And yet, as so often happens in the history of discovery, a tool built for one purpose revealed something far more extraordinary. At precisely 11:37 in the evening Universal Coordinated Time, the algorithms that sift through the flood of nightly data hesitated. Among the familiar patterns of stars, planets, and routine asteroids, a new point of light appeared. At first, it was nothing more than a pixel, a faint shimmer, barely above the background noise. But its movement, traced over hours, betrayed something unusual. It did not belong to the gravitational choreography of our solar system. Imagine the scene inside the control room. Banks of monitors glow softly in the dark. The hum of electronics fills the air. A technician, perhaps weary from long hours of routine observation, leans closer to the screen. The numbers do not fit. The curve of motion is not the familiar ellipse of an orbit, but the open sweep of a hyperbola. The implication is immediate and profound. This object does not come from here. It comes from the deep between stars, from the interstellar night. News of the anomaly spreads quietly at first, through emails and late-night phone calls, from one astronomer to another. Observations are checked, recalibrated, confirmed. Independent telescopes are alerted. Within days, multiple instruments have pointed their mirrors at the strange new visitor. The faint shimmer is seen again and again, consistent, undeniable. A new designation is assigned, 3I, the third interstellar object ever detected, followed by the word Atlas, in honor of the survey that first caught sight of it. Think for a moment about how improbable such a discovery is. The sky is vast beyond comprehension. Millions upon millions of stars scatter their light across the black. The number of asteroids and comets within our own system is enormous. To notice, within all that immensity, A single traveler from beyond is like noticing the faint ripple of a fish in an ocean while standing on the shore. And yet, through patience, persistence, and the quiet watch of machines, it was seen. As the days passed, more data accumulated. The trajectory was calculated with increasing precision. This object was moving fast, far faster than anything bound to the sun. Its approach was steep, its angle unusual, and its course guaranteed that it would not remain. It had entered our neighborhood uninvited, and soon enough it would leave again, slipping back into the silence between stars. But before it disappeared, there would be time, precious, fleeting time, for humanity to study it. Astronomers across the world scrambled to secure observing windows. The great telescopes of Hawaii, Chile, Spain, and the Canary Islands were directed toward this faint traveler. Even the James Webb Space Telescope, orbiting far beyond Earth, dedicated precious hours to its examination. Every moment counted, for objects like this pass quickly, and the chance to observe them comes perhaps once in a generation. Let us pause here and imagine the object itself. In the cold emptiness of interstellar space, it has drifted for ages, untouched, unseen. Its surface is scarred by radiation, its structure shaped by collisions long past. It carries within it the chemical record of its birth, perhaps in a star system very different from our own. To look at it is to glimpse not just a rock or a comet, but a piece of history older than Earth, a fragment from another chapter of the universe. Have you ever looked at an old stone, worn smooth by time, and felt the weight of years upon it? 3I Atlas is such a stone, but on a scale far beyond human imagination. It has seen suns rise and fade, galaxies twist and turn, and now, by some chain of cosmic chance, it has wandered close enough for us to notice. The excitement within the scientific community was tempered by caution. Official reports described the object in dry, careful terms. They spoke of its hyperbolic trajectory, its velocity, its unusual emissions. They confirmed that it posed no threat to Earth, no collision course, no danger. But beneath the surface of those measured statements lay a deeper truth. This was no ordinary discovery. It was something that could change how we understand the diversity of objects in the galaxy, and perhaps even how we think about our place within it. Night after night, telescopes continued to watch. The faint point of light grew brighter as it approached the sun. Subtle changes in its spectrum hinted at chemistry that did not align with what we expected. The cometary coma, the faint cloud of gas that surrounds such objects, behaved oddly, swelling and dimming in ways not entirely explained by solar heating. Each observation brought more questions than answers. And so, as July deepened into August, the story of 3I Atlas began to unfold. A story not of certainty, but of curiosity. Not of clear answers, but of deepening mystery. The astronomers were patient, cautious, careful with their words. Yet for those who listened closely, for those who read between the lines, the message was clear. Something unusual was passing through our skies, and we were witnessing it together. Before we move deeper into the anomalies, I want to ask you something. If you were the one watching that screen, seeing the faint shimmer that did not belong, how would you feel? Would you be thrilled, knowing you had glimpsed something ancient and rare? Or would you feel small, humbled by the vastness of the unknown? Perhaps both. And perhaps that mixture of awe and humility is exactly what makes such discoveries so precious. Across the world, as the news spread, other observatories joined the watch. In Hawaii, the Pan-STARRS survey telescopes adjusted their nightly programs, turning their sensitive instruments toward the same patch of sky. In Spain, in the Canary Islands, astronomers stood beneath the trade winds, their domes swiveling to capture new images. In Arizona, the Mount Lemmon survey joined the effort, while in California, the Palomar Observatory's cameras searched back through archived images, hoping to find earlier glimpses of the mysterious point of light. And indeed, they did. When scientists traced through the data, they discovered that 3I Atlas had been hiding in plain sight for weeks, perhaps even months, its faint glow overlooked among the countless millions of dots that filled each frame. There was a sense of quiet amazement in this realization. The object had been there all along, whispering its presence, waiting for us to notice. How many others, still unseen, glide silently through the night above us, never noticed, never named? Have you ever walked along a beach and realized that beneath your feet there are countless grains of sand, each one unique, each one carrying its own history? To pick up one grain and study it is to glimpse a story, but to know that there are endless others beyond counting is to feel both awe and humility. 3i Atlas is like that grain of sand. We happen to notice it, but there are surely countless more wanderers passing through, unnoticed, unrecorded, drifting through the cosmic shore. The discovery called to mind other great moments in astronomy. The first time Galileo turned his telescope to the sky and saw the moons of Jupiter circling their giant parent. The moment William Herschel noticed a faint star that turned out to be an entirely new planet, Uranus. The night Edwin Hubble realized that faint smudges of light were not clouds within our own galaxy, but galaxies themselves, each one an island universe. In each case, the discovery began not with certainty, but with a shimmer, a faint irregularity, a whisper that said, "Look closer. Something new is here." So too with 3i Atlas. The astronomers were cautious, but they felt the echo of those earlier moments. A sense that history was unfolding quietly, pixel by pixel, before their eyes. As July turned into August, the visitor grew brighter. Its movement across the sky became easier to follow, though still faint, still challenging. Amateur astronomers joined the effort, pointing their backyard telescopes toward the coordinates shared by professionals. Some of them, after long hours in the dark, managed to capture faint streaks on their own images, evidence that they, too, had glimpsed the traveler from another star. Imagine the thrill of such a moment. To stand beneath the night sky and know that the pale trace on your camera is not from here, not from our system, but from the deep unknown beyond. And yet, with the excitement came restraint. Press releases from NASA and the European Space Agency emphasized the routine, the safe, the ordinary. They confirmed that the object posed no threat. They noted its perihelion, the point of closest approach to the Sun, scheduled for the end of October, at about 1 4/10 astronomical units. Their tone was calm, factual, almost detached. It was as if they were describing the weather. But behind that measured voice lay the awareness that this was anything but ordinary. For time was limited. Each day brought the object closer to the Sun, and soon it would slip into conjunction, hidden in the glare, invisible to our instruments. The window for study was brief, and astronomers around the globe worked urgently, though quietly, to gather every possible observation before it was lost. Billions of dollars worth of equipment, the pride of nations and decades of engineering, were directed toward this single faint point of light. That alone spoke volumes. The official words might be cautious, but the actions betrayed the truth. This was something special. Pause with me for a moment. Imagine yourself in the shoes of those scientists, staying awake long into the night, watching the data scroll across the screen. You see the numbers shift, the lines trace their arcs, and you know you are witnessing something rare, something that may not happen again in your lifetime. How would you feel? Would you feel the thrill of discovery, the weight of responsibility, the quiet awe of touching the unknown? This is the story of 3i Atlas's discovery. Not a thunderclap, not a dramatic revelation, but a whisper that grew louder with each passing night. A shimmer in the darkness, confirmed again and again, until the truth became unavoidable. Something from another star had entered our skies, and for a brief time, we were its witnesses. Anomalies and mysteries. From the very first observations, 3i Atlas began to whisper of strangeness. At first glance, it appeared comet-like, surrounded by a faint coma of gas and dust, yet almost immediately it began to defy expectations. Let us explore these mysteries, one by one, gently, slowly, like turning the pages of an old book by candlelight. The nickel without iron. The first anomaly emerged not from photographs but from spectra, those subtle lines of color that reveal the fingerprints of atoms. When astronomers at the European Southern Observatory examined the light reflected from 3I Atlas, they found a surprise. Clear signs of nickel, yes, but none of the iron that should have accompanied it. In the natural cosmos, nickel and iron are siblings. They are forged together in the hearts of dying stars, born in the same explosions, bound by the same processes. To find nickel without iron is like finding footprints in the snow made by only one boot. It does not fit. It should not be. And yet, there it was, written clearly in the light from this wandering traveler. The scientists checked their instruments. They recalibrated, repeated the measurements, asked independent teams to confirm. Again and again, the result was the same. Nickel stood alone. And in our human world, pure nickel without iron contamination is something we achieve only through deliberate industrial processing. Could this be natural? Perhaps. Could it be something else? The question lingers like a soft echo in the night. Have you ever encountered something in your own life that felt out of place? A detail so odd that it stayed with you long after? That is the feeling scientists carried as they studied the nickel mystery. A puzzle without a key, a door that would not open. The carbon dioxide dominance. Next came another surprise. Most comets, when warmed by the sun, release water vapor. Their comas are bright, icy, and familiar. But 3I Atlas did not follow this script. Instead, its coma was dominated by carbon dioxide, releasing this gas in quantities nearly 8 times greater than water. Imagine building a snowman, only to discover that it is made not of snow, but of dry ice, with only a thin dusting of ordinary frost. Technically possible, yes, but so unusual that it demands an explanation. This inversion of chemistry suggested that 3I Atlas carried within it a history very different from the comets of our own solar system. It was as though it had been formed in an alien nursery, under conditions we could scarcely imagine. The James Webb Space Telescope confirmed what ground-based telescopes suspected. Carbon dioxide surrounded the traveler like a fog, thick and persistent, obscuring our view of its nucleus. We could see the smoke, but not the flame. The heart of 3I Atlas remained hidden, cloaked in its own emissions. The hidden nucleus. This leads us to another mystery, the nucleus itself. Even with the power of Hubble, even with the extraordinary sensitivity of James Webb, astronomers could not see the solid body at the center of 3I Atlas. They could only place upper limits on its size, never a direct measurement. It is like trying to study a campfire not by looking at the flames, but by watching the smoke. You know there is something there, something producing the haze, but it refuses to show itself. Was the nucleus large or small, smooth or irregular, solid or fractured? For now, it remained a secret. Consider the irony. Just as the traveler grew most active, just as its chemistry became most revealing, it slipped behind the glare of the sun, hidden from our telescopes. A cosmic magician performing its final act unseen. The trajectory of improbability. But perhaps the most unsettling mystery lay not in chemistry, but in motion. 3I Atlas did not wander aimlessly through the solar system. Its path was precise, calculated, improbably so. It skimmed close to Venus, brushed near Mars, and passed within the gravitational influence of Jupiter. For a random interstellar object to align itself so closely with multiple planets, the odds are vanishingly small, less than 1 in 20,000. Imagine throwing a dart across light years of distance and landing it perfectly on a narrow target within our solar system. That is what the trajectory of 3I Atlas seemed to suggest. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, already known for his bold ideas about the earlier visitor ʻOumuamua, called attention to this improbability. Was it simply cosmic chance? Or was there intention? We cannot say, but the mathematics leave us restless. the brightness that would not behave. Finally, there was the matter of brightness. Comets brighten as they approach the sun, their ices sublimating, their tails glowing. The pattern is familiar, predictable. But 3i Atlas refused to follow. Sometimes it brightened too quickly, sometimes too slowly. Sometimes it seemed reflective, more than a natural comet should be, as if its surface was unusually smooth or strangely constructed. No model quite fit the data. Each explanation solved one piece of the puzzle while leaving another unsolved. And so the brightness itself became an enigma, another voice in the chorus of mysteries. As we gather these anomalies together, nickel without iron, carbon dioxide dominance, the hidden nucleus, the improbable trajectory, the misbehaving brightness, we begin to see not a simple comet but a puzzle. A puzzle written in light and motion, whispering from across the stars. And so, I ask you, if you were faced with such contradictions, would you seek the safest explanation, that this is merely nature in one of her stranger moods? Or would you allow yourself to wonder whether something more deliberate, more extraordinary, might be at work? When the first reports of nickel without iron were shared in the quiet corridors of astronomical institutes, the tone was almost hesitant. Scientists are cautious by nature, trained to seek error before wonder. Was it a calibration issue? A misinterpretation of the spectral lines? Teams in Europe and South America compared their notes, and to their own surprise, the answer was no. The lines were clear. The data repeated itself. Independent instruments agreed. Nickel stood alone, a solitary marker of strangeness. One researcher described the sensation in an interview as both exhilarating and unnerving. Exhilarating because it meant they had found something new, something never seen before in the chemical fingerprint of a comet. Unnerving because science is meant to confirm, not to puzzle. To find nickel without iron was like being handed a page torn from a book written in a language only half understood. The anomaly of carbon dioxide dominance carried its own weight. First, it was easy to dismiss. Comets are diverse, after all, and variations are expected. But as more measurements came in, the ratios grew increasingly stark. Water, the lifeblood of comets in our solar system, was scarce. Carbon dioxide, by contrast, poured from 3i Atlas in overwhelming abundance. At the James Webb Space Telescope Operations Center, scientists watched the data scroll across their screens. A fog of carbon dioxide surrounded the visitor, dense enough to hide its very heart. It is as though the comet is wearing a veil, one astronomer mused. We can see the shroud, but not the face beneath. And so, the nucleus remained hidden, refusing to reveal its form. What do you imagine lies beneath such a veil? A fragile lump of ice, or something more resilient, more deliberate? If you close your eyes, can you picture a hidden shape, obscured but waiting to be seen? Then there was the trajectory, that improbable path which carried 3i Atlas so close to multiple planets. In professional papers, the language was careful, statistically unlikely, worthy of further study, unexpected orbital characteristics. But beneath the scholarly restraint was a sense of awe. To trace the curve of its journey was to trace a line that seemed almost purposeful. Not chaotic, but precise. Not random, but measured. And in astronomy, precision is rarely an accident. Even the brightness of the traveler seemed intent on teasing us. Night by night, its glow rose and fell like a candle flickering in the wind. Models were built, tested, discarded. Perhaps its surface was unusually reflective. Perhaps it was breaking apart. Perhaps it carried ices that sublimated in unfamiliar ways. Each possibility explained something, but not everything. And so, the brightness remained a puzzle, a light that danced beyond our full understanding. These mysteries, taken together, created a chorus of questions. A single anomaly might be dismissed, a quirk of nature. Two anomalies could be explained away with creativity. But five, interwoven, each reinforcing the sense of strangeness. This was harder to ignore. And yet, the official voice remained calm, soothing, careful. The public statements reassured. No danger, no collision, no need for alarm. But in the quiet hum of observatories, in the hushed conversations between colleagues, the tone was different. It was a tone of wonder mixed with unease, of curiosity that could not be fully satisfied. Pause here for a moment. Imagine yourself looking at a night sky, knowing that somewhere among the countless points of light is an object that does not belong, an object older than your world, stranger than your expectations. How would that change the way you see the stars? Would you feel comfort, knowing that the universe is full of surprises, or unease, knowing that those surprises may never yield their secrets? The mysteries of 3i Atlas are like soft whispers carried on the wind. They do not shout. They do not demand. They simply linger, gentle but insistent, reminding us that the universe is vaster, stranger, and more beautiful than we have yet imagined. The closer scientists looked, the more peculiar details emerged. One evening in mid-August, as the comet drew nearer to the warmth of the sun, telescopes recorded faint traces of cyanide gas in the spectrum. Cyanide is not unknown in comets, but here its timing was exact, appearing just as models predicted it should, as if the chemistry of 3i Atlas was unfolding according to some hidden script. It was natural, yes, but the precision carried a strange echo of intention. A recipe written in starlight playing out step by step before our eyes. To some, this suggested nothing more than the elegance of physics. To others, it whispered of complexity, as though the object were responding with deliberate rhythm to its environment. The debate was quiet, but it ran deep, threading through conversations at conferences and in late-night emails between astronomers. Consider the atmosphere of those discussions. Imagine two scientists standing side by side in a control room, the glow of monitors washing their faces in pale light. One leans forward, pointing to a spectral line, insisting it is unusual, that it means something more. The other shakes their head gently, reminding that anomalies are part of science, that nature is stranger than we often expect. Both are correct, and both are left unsatisfied. Meanwhile, the veil of carbon dioxide thickened, refusing to part. Observers compared the sight to fog drifting across a valley. From a distance, you know the land is there, but the shapes are hidden, softened, concealed. With 3i Atlas, we knew a nucleus lay beneath, but it would not show itself. The more the object approached the sun, the more the fog grew, as if it was deliberately keeping its secrets hidden at the very moment we most longed to see. The trajectory, too, weighed on the minds of many. Some calculated the odds again and again, running simulations that filled supercomputers with data. For an interstellar object to skim so close to multiple planets seemed almost impossible. Less than 1 in 20,000, some said. Others argued the odds were even slimmer. And yet here it was, a line carved across our system with mathematical precision, threading between worlds like a needle pulling through cloth. If you were to throw a stone into a vast, dark ocean, what are the chances it would land within inches of a drifting boat? And yet, 3i Atlas seemed to have done just that, weaving its way near Venus, near Mars, near Jupiter, as though following a path traced long ago. The brightness still refused to settle into a pattern. On some nights it flared, on others it dimmed. Amateurs who captured it through backyard telescopes noted the changes with fascination. Professionals logged the data with restraint, but the pattern was clear. This was no simple curve, no predictable equation. It was light that behaved like a riddle. Some wondered if it was fragmenting, breaking into pieces too small for us to see. Others suggested its surface was unusually reflective, perhaps coated with frozen gases or metals. A few whispered more daring thoughts, that perhaps the changes in brightness were not random at all, but signals, regular in a way we had not yet learned to decode. Pause for a moment and imagine that possibility. Imagine a lighthouse on a distant shore, its beams sweeping rhythmically across the waves. If you were at sea, would you recognize it as a message, or would you dismiss it as chance? That is the position of the scientists, staring into the faint glow of Three-Eye Atlas. They see the flicker, the shimmer, the uneven glow, and they wonder, nature or something more. Yet for all the anomalies, all the puzzles, the tone of the scientific papers remained cautious. Words like peculiar, unexpected, not yet understood filled the pages. It was language chosen carefully, language that admitted mystery without surrendering to speculation. The scientists knew that what they were seeing was extraordinary, but they also knew that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And so they waited, they measured, they whispered among themselves, but their official voices remained calm, even understated. For us, listening now in the quiet of night, the effect is different. We are not bound by the same caution. We can let our minds wander where theirs must not. We can imagine what it might mean for nickel to stand alone, for carbon dioxide to cloak a hidden heart, for a trajectory to trace the improbable, for brightness to flicker with secret rhythm. These are the anomalies of Three-Eye Atlas, each one a question written in the language of the stars. And so I ask you softly, if you were watching this traveler, what story would you tell yourself? Would you believe it is only ice and rock shaped by chance? Or would you feel, deep within, that something more is unfolding, something that touches on the edge of intention? As August ripened into September, the chorus of anomalies grew louder. The astronomers, spread across continents, spoke in emails, in quiet meetings, in late-night video calls, comparing notes as though piecing together a puzzle scattered across the globe. From Hawaii to Chile, from Europe to the deserts of Arizona, each telescope added another fragment of truth. And yet, with each new observation, the mystery only deepened. One difficulty was time itself. The traveler was approaching the sun, and soon it would be lost in the solar glare. Astronomers call this moment conjunction, when the object passes too close to the sun's line of sight for our instruments to track. Imagine, for a moment, that you are reading a letter and just as you reach the most important sentence, the page is snatched away. That was the feeling among scientists. Just when Three-Eye Atlas seemed ready to reveal its deepest secrets, it slipped from view, hidden by the very star that illuminated it. There was frustration in this, yes, but also a kind of poetry. The object had traveled for perhaps millions of years, only to spend a few brief weeks within our reach. And even then, it remained coy, showing us hints, offering riddles, never the whole truth. It was as though the universe itself were reminding us that not all answers are ours to claim. The anomalies remained. Nickel without iron, carbon dioxide without water, a hidden nucleus, a trajectory that seemed improbably precise, a brightness that flickered beyond prediction. Each one alone could have been dismissed. Together, they formed a chorus that scientists could not ignore. And yet, official voices continued to sound calm, restrained, measured. NASA and the European Space Agency released statements that emphasized safety. No collision course, no threat, nothing to fear. But between the lines, one could sense the unspoken. Why, after all, would the James Webb Space Telescope, one of the most valuable instruments humanity has ever built, dedicate precious hours to this faint wanderer? Why would the European Southern Observatory assign its most powerful spectrographs, normally oversubscribed by years, to study a single comet-like body? The actions spoke louder than the words. Whatever Three-Eye Atlas was, it was important. Have you ever felt that way in your own life? When someone tells you not to worry, but you see in their eyes that the truth is more complicated. That is the sense one gets from reading the scientific communiques about this traveler. Outward calm, inward wonder. Some compared the situation to ʻOumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, discovered in 2017. That object had been cigar-shaped, tumbling, accelerating in ways no one could explain. It sparked debates that reached beyond astronomy, into culture, into philosophy, into whispers of alien technology. With Three-Eye Atlas, the lessons of that experience weighed heavily. Better, perhaps, to speak cautiously, to understate, to avoid igniting another firestorm of speculation. And yet, speculation bloomed anyway. In quiet corners of conferences, in online forums, in the private musings of curious minds, questions rose. Was the nickel without iron a sign of processing? Was the carbon dioxide fog a form of concealment? Was the trajectory too precise to be chance? Each question led to another, and no answer came to quiet them. Pause here for a breath. Imagine you are standing outside on a clear night, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, too faint for your eyes but visible to the patient machines of science, a traveler is passing by. It is older than your world, stranger than your imagination, and for this fleeting moment, it shares the same sky with you. Does that thought make you feel small, or does it make you feel connected? Perhaps both at once. The mysteries of 3I Atlas are not simply data points. They are reminders that the universe still holds secrets, that even with all our technology, there are things we cannot yet see, cannot yet name. And perhaps in the quiet of the night, that is exactly what we need to know. Not that we have mastered the cosmos, but that the cosmos still has the power to surprise us. And so, as we linger with these anomalies, let us not rush toward answers. Let us allow the questions themselves to wash over us, like waves upon a shore, gentle, rhythmic, endless. For sometimes, the greatest gift the universe offers is not certainty, but wonder. Comparisons with past cases. When scientists first announced that 3I Atlas was the third interstellar visitor ever detected, many minds turned immediately to the earlier two. Each of these wanderers carried its own lessons, its own mysteries, and together they form a lineage that helps us see Atlas not as an isolated event, but as part of a larger story written across the sky. ʻOumuamua, the first messenger. The year was 2017. Astronomers at the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii noticed something unusual. A faint object moving too fast, on too steep a path, to belong to our solar system. It was named ʻOumuamua, a Hawaiian word meaning scout or messenger from afar arriving first. The name itself felt prophetic, as though the universe was sending us a signal. Pay attention. This is not the last you will see. ʻOumuamua was unlike anything observed before. Its brightness varied dramatically as it tumbled through space, suggesting an elongated shape. Some compared it to a cigar, others to a flattened pancake. No natural asteroid or comet in our system had ever shown such extreme proportions. Stranger still, as it left the sun behind, it began to accelerate, ever so slightly, in ways gravity alone could not explain. Normally, comets accelerate because of outgassing, jets of vapor pushing them like tiny thrusters. But ʻOumuamua showed no coma, no visible tail, no signs of such jets. It moved as though nudged by an invisible hand. The scientific community wrestled with explanations. Perhaps it was a fragment of hydrogen ice, evaporating invisibly. Perhaps nitrogen ice, chipped off from a distant planet. Each theory solved one part of the puzzle, but none solved all. And then came the boldest suggestion, offered by Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb. Perhaps ʻOumuamua was not natural at all, but a piece of alien technology, a light sail drifting through the cosmos. The idea was controversial, criticized by many, but it captured the imagination of the world. For the first time in modern astronomy, serious voices dared to whisper of something beyond nature. Have you ever had such a moment, when you encountered something so strange it forced you to reconsider what you believed was possible? That was ʻOumuamua, a messenger that left behind more questions than answers. 2I/Borisov, the familiar stranger. 2 years later, in 2019, a second visitor arrived. This one was discovered by an amateur astronomer, Gennady Borisov, peering through his telescope in Crimea. It was named 2I/Borisov, the second interstellar object, and it behaved far more like what astronomers expected. Borisov looked like a comet. It had a bright coma, a clear tail, jets of gas and dust streaming behind it as the sun's warmth awakened its ices. Its composition, too, was comet-like, though with some unusual details, such as higher levels of carbon monoxide. In many ways, it reassured scientists, yes, interstellar objects exist, and they can look much like the comets we know from our own system. If Oumuamua was the wild enigma, Borisov was the familiar visitor. It showed that interstellar wanderers come in many forms, some strange, some ordinary. Think of it as meeting two strangers in a crowd. The first is eccentric, behaving in ways you cannot understand. The second feels more familiar, their habits recognizable, their manner comforting. You walk away thinking, yes, there is strangeness out there, but also continuity. Three-Eye Atlas, the synthesis of mystery. And then came Three-Eye Atlas, where Oumuamua was too strange and Borisov reassuringly normal. Atlas seemed to occupy a middle ground, and yet, in doing so, it became even more mysterious. Like Borisov, it showed comet-like activity, releasing gas as it neared the sun. But like Oumuamua, it refused to fit the models. Its chemistry was unusual, its trajectory improbably precise, its brightness unpredictable. It seemed to borrow traits from both predecessors while adding puzzles of its own. The pattern is unsettling. One anomaly might be chance. Two could be dismissed as coincidence. But three, each distinct yet echoing the others, begins to suggest a larger truth. Interstellar visitors are not uniform. They are diverse, surprising, perhaps shaped by processes we have yet to imagine. Pause for a moment and consider this lineage. In the span of less than a decade, humanity has seen three objects from beyond our system. For billions of years, they passed unnoticed, and now, in our time, we have noticed them. Why now? Is it simply that our technology has finally become sensitive enough? Or is it that the universe, in its own quiet way, is sending us messengers at precisely the moment we are ready to see them? Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. Three notes in a melody we are only beginning to hear. A melody that may carry through the centuries, reshaping our understanding of what lies beyond. When Oumuamua faded from our skies, slipping back into the interstellar night, it left behind an echo. Scientists argued, debated, published paper after paper, but no consensus emerged. Some were content to label it a peculiar comet. Others insisted it was too strange for that title. Years later, its mystery still lingers, like a half-remembered dream that refuses to fade. Borisov, by contrast, gave comfort. Here was something the scientific community could name. It was a comet, yes, but a comet from another star. Its tail, its gases, its chemistry, they spoke a language astronomers could read. It was a reminder that the familiar exists even in the alien, that the cosmos, in its vastness, carries echoes of home. And then came Atlas, and the comfort vanished. In some ways it was comet-like, yes, but in others it was far stranger than even Oumuamua. The nickel without iron, the veil of carbon dioxide, the improbable path threading near planets. Each anomaly piled upon the last until it felt less like a visitor, more like a riddle. Comparisons soon became unavoidable. Scientists laid the three side by side, their properties listed in careful tables. Shape, composition, trajectory, brightness. Oumuamua elongated, Borisov ordinary, Atlas contradictory. Oumuamua accelerated without explanation. Borisov did not. Atlas brightened and dimmed in ways that defied models. Borisov looked like something familiar, but Oumuamua and Atlas seemed to belong to another category altogether. Have you ever met three strangers, each with a different story, and yet felt that together they hinted at something larger, some pattern you could not quite name? That is how many felt about these interstellar objects. Not random, not disconnected, but pieces of a greater puzzle whose shape we are only beginning to glimpse. In quiet conversations, astronomers asked one another, what if these are not outliers but the rule? What if the galaxy is filled with objects like this, strange and varied, each carrying clues to worlds we will never see? Or, whisper it softly, what if some are more than natural? What if among the countless stones and icy fragments, there are a few that are crafted, deliberate, sent with purpose? The comparisons do not end with science. They reach into culture, into imagination. ʻOumuamua inspired novels, artworks, even music. Borisov inspired awe for the ordinary. Atlas, with its contradictions, inspired unease as well as wonder. Together, they shaped a new era of astronomy, one where the boundaries between science and story blur, where the unknown invites not only study but also reflection. And so we linger with them, these three wanderers. ʻOumuamua, the scout; Borisov, the comet; Atlas, the enigma. Each one entered quietly, each one left quickly, and each one changed us. Perhaps, in centuries to come, there will be dozens more, hundreds more, and patterns will emerge clearly. But for now, we live in the first chapter, when the mystery is still raw, when the questions still outweigh the answers. Pause here with me. Imagine the night sky again. Above you, countless stars, each a sun, each with its own system of planets, comets, and asteroids. From those distant nurseries, fragments are flung into space, drifting for millions of years until, by chance or by design, they pass through our own sky. For most of history, we could not see them. Now we can. What else might we notice, as our eyes grow sharper, as our curiosity grows deeper? Comparisons remind us of continuity, but they also remind us of contrast. ʻOumuamua, Borisov, Atlas, they are alike in their origin beyond the sun, and yet they are utterly different in nature. They are threads woven from the same cosmic cloth, but each carries a color and pattern unique to itself. And so the comparisons leave us not with clarity, but with wonder. Perhaps that is the true lesson, that the universe is not uniform, not predictable, but endlessly diverse, endlessly surprising. Comparisons with past cases. To place Three-Eye Atlas in context, one must return again and again to the memory of ʻOumuamua. That first interstellar visitor shook astronomy not only because of what it was, but because of what it suggested. For centuries, we wondered if objects from beyond our system might wander close. For centuries, the idea remained theory. Then suddenly, without warning, a faint point of light appeared and announced, "They are real, they exist, and they are here." ʻOumuamua's strangeness continues to haunt us. Some scientists called it elongated, others flattened. Some claimed its acceleration was subtle but real, others doubted. Decades from now, textbooks will still list it as an unsolved case, a mystery left hanging in the sky. It is the archetype of the unexplained, too fast to catch, too strange to classify, too brief to understand. Borisov II offered the comfort of recognition. Its coma, its tail, its streaming jets of gas, these were things astronomers had studied for centuries. It was alien in origin, yes, but familiar in nature. Imagine meeting a traveler from another land who speaks a language you do not know, but whose smile, whose gestures, whose ways of being feel entirely human. That was Borisov. Strange in detail, but familiar in spirit. And then came Atlas, and the comparisons became sharper, more unsettling. It shared ʻOumuamua's refusal to fit, but not its silence. It shared Borisov's cometary veil, but not its predictability. It was as though the universe had blended the two, taking the mystery of the first and the familiarity of the second, and combining them into something new, something that unsettled by its very contradictions. Scientists tried to categorize them, to fit them into neat boxes. ʻOumuamua, elongated, accelerating, no coma. Borisov, comet-like, ordinary, predictable. Atlas, cometary but chemical anomalies, bright but inconsistent, path improbably precise. 3 columns, 3 visitors, 3 very different stories. And yet, beneath the differences lay a unifying truth. All came from beyond. All reminded us that we are not isolated, not alone, but part of a galaxy alive with wanderers. Have you ever collected seashells on a beach? Each shell unique, each one telling of a creature's life, of the waves that shaped it. Some are smooth, some broken, some patterned in ways you cannot explain. Yet all of them are shells, all of them are gifts from the same ocean. That is what these interstellar visitors are, shells from the ocean of the galaxy, carried to our shore by currents we cannot see. And still, there lingers the feeling that perhaps the shells are not all the same. Perhaps one or two are carved, shaped, touched by hands we do not know. ʻOumuamua's impossible shape, Atlas's improbable trajectory. They whisper of possibility, of intention. Borisov grounds us, reassures us, tells us that most are natural. But what if not all? Comparisons also highlight time. ʻOumuamua was discovered in 2017, Borisov in 2019, Atlas in 2025. 3 visitors in less than a decade, after centuries of silence. Is this mere coincidence? A reflection of our improved technology? Our sharper eyes? Or is there meaning in the timing? A pattern unfolding as though the cosmos waits until we are ready to see. Imagine humanity as a child, just learning to read. For millennia we looked at the sky and saw only stars. Then suddenly words began to appear: ʻOumuamua, Borisov, Atlas, like letters in a cosmic alphabet. Perhaps one day we will learn to read the full sentence. Comparisons remind us of what we know, but they also remind us of how little we know. ʻOumuamua taught us humility. Borisov taught us continuity. Atlas teaches us complexity. Together, they teach us that the galaxy is not monotonous, not predictable, but diverse beyond our imagination. So when we place them side by side, what emerges is not clarity, but a deeper, richer mystery. A pattern of difference, a harmony of contradictions, a reminder that the story of interstellar visitors has only just begun. Pause with me here. Think about the night sky above you. Somewhere, perhaps even now, another fragment from another star is drifting toward us, unseen, unmeasured, waiting to join the list. Perhaps next year, perhaps in a decade, perhaps in a century. When it comes, how will it compare? Will it be familiar like Borisov, strange like ʻOumuamua, or enigmatic like Atlas? We do not know. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful part. When ʻOumuamua passed through in 2017, the world seemed to pause. For the first time, newspapers on every continent carried headlines about a rock from another star. People who had never cared about astronomy suddenly found themselves looking upward, imagining a slender shape gliding silently through the dark. Some feared it, some laughed, some dreamed, but all of them felt, if only for a moment, the weight of the unknown pressing gently against their daily lives. Borisov, by contrast, was quieter in its impact. It arrived in 2019, discovered not by a major institution but by an amateur astronomer, peering through a handmade telescope under the night sky. There was something poetic in that, a reminder that discovery belongs not only to the great observatories, but to anyone willing to look with patience and love for the stars. Borisov reassured scientists. Here was proof that interstellar comets could resemble the ones we had studied for centuries. It eased the tension left behind by ʻOumuamua's strangeness, grounding the conversation once more in the familiar. And then, in 2025, 3i Atlas appeared, and the balance shifted again. Its discovery was not just data, but drama. A puzzle with too many contradictions to ignore. Scientists remembered the debates of ʻOumuamua, the comfort of Borisov, and realized that Atlas demanded both responses at once. It was familiar, yes, but also deeply strange. It was comet-like, but its chemistry whispered of other possibilities. It carried a tail of gas, but one that concealed rather than revealed. It moved predictably, yet along a path so improbable it seemed almost guided. The comparisons grew sharper as the months passed. In lectures and papers, astronomers laid the 3 side by side. ʻOumuamua, small, elongated, accelerating mysteriously, no coma. Borisov, large, active, clearly cometary, ordinary in its behavior. Atlas, active but veiled, chemically unusual, improbably precise in its trajectory. It was as if the universe were showing us three variations on a theme, each more complex than the last. Have you ever listened to a piece of music where the melody repeats, but each time with new layers, new instruments, new harmonies? The first time it is simple. The second time it is fuller, richer. The third time it surprises you, bending in unexpected ways. That is what these three interstellar visitors are like. A melody played across the stars, repeating, deepening, evolving. The public, too, responded differently each time. With ʻOumuamua, speculation ran wild. Was it a spaceship, a probe, a relic? Novels were written, debates filled television studios, and imaginations soared. With Borisov, the response was quieter, more measured. People admired it, yes, but it did not stir the same fever of speculation. It was safe, familiar, understandable. With Atlas, the pendulum swung back toward wonder and unease. Articles speculated again, cautiously, about aliens, about technology, about possibilities that lay beyond. This, too, is part of the comparison. Not just the objects themselves, but the way humanity receives them. ʻOumuamua revealed our hunger for mystery. Borisov revealed our need for familiarity. Atlas revealed our restlessness, our inability to ignore contradictions. Together, they are not only a scientific story but a cultural mirror, reflecting back to us who we are when confronted with the unknown. And still, the question lingers, what comes next? If in less than a decade we have seen 3 interstellar visitors, how many more await our notice? Will the fourth be ordinary or extraordinary? Will it resemble Borisov, calm and cometary? Or will it astonish like ʻOumuamua? Or will it, like Atlas, leave us suspended in contradiction, wondering whether we are glimpsing something natural or something more? Pause for a moment and consider this. The sky is vast, the galaxy endless. Even as we speak, more interstellar travelers drift unseen through the night. Some pass far beyond our sight. Some slip through while our instruments are turned elsewhere. Perhaps even now, one is approaching, faint and silent, ready to write the next chapter. Comparisons teach us perspective. They remind us that each visitor is not just itself, but part of a pattern. A pattern still too faint to read clearly, like letters traced in sand before the tide washes over them. But slowly, patiently, as the years pass and more visitors arrive, the writing will grow clearer. And when it does, perhaps we will understand not just the objects themselves, but the story they are telling us. Speculative theories. The anomalies of 3I Atlas, the nickel without iron, the carbon dioxide fog, the improbable trajectory, invite us to wonder. Science thrives on data, yet data alone cannot silence curiosity. In the quiet of the night, when the sky stretches endlessly above, the mind begins to drift toward possibilities. Let us gently explore 3 such possibilities, not as certainties but as invitations to dream. The natural explanations. Perhaps some say there is nothing unnatural at all. The cosmos is vast, its chemistry diverse, its processes stranger than we often expect. In this view, 3I Atlas is simply nature being creative, sculpting a traveler under conditions unlike those that shaped our own comets. Nickel without iron? Perhaps in another star system, unique pressures and temperatures separated them, creating compositions we do not see here. Carbon dioxide in dominance? Perhaps Atlas formed in a region rich in dry ice, where water was scarce but carbon compounds abundant. Its strange trajectory? Perhaps a coincidence, rare but not impossible, guided by the unseen gravity of countless encounters across the galaxy. Science often advances through such surprises. Once, lightning was thought to be divine fire. Once, the movement of planets puzzled astronomers for centuries until new laws of gravity revealed their patterns. What puzzles us today may be tomorrow's textbook chapter. Have you ever looked at something strange and later realized it was ordinary, simply unfamiliar from a new angle? Perhaps 3I Atlas is like that, a natural phenomenon wearing an unfamiliar mask, the extraterrestrial probe hypothesis. But others quietly whisper another possibility. What if the strangeness is not natural? What if the object is not merely ice and rock, but something more, something crafted? The nickel without iron could be a sign of processing, of metals purified as humans purify them for machines. The carbon dioxide fog might serve not as coincidence, but as camouflage, a veil hiding the nucleus. The trajectory, improbably close to planets, could be more than chance, a guided path chosen for observation. Even the brightness, flickering irregularly, might be a signal, a rhythm not yet decoded. If this were so, 3I Atlas would not be the first suggestion of such a thing. Oumuamua's strange acceleration sparked the same whispers. What if these visitors are not debris, but scouts? What if civilizations older than ours send them across the galaxy, quiet observers slipping through the night? Imagine for a moment that this is true. Somewhere, light years away, beings we cannot picture crafted Atlas and set it adrift, aimed toward systems like ours. Imagine them now, perhaps long gone, perhaps still alive, watching through instruments we cannot imagine, studying us as we study the stars. The thought may unsettle you, but let it also inspire wonder. If we are being watched, it means we are not alone. It means the silence of the stars may hide not emptiness, but presence. Would you find comfort in that idea, or fear? Would you welcome the gaze of another intelligence, or would you hide from it? The dark forest hypothesis. And then there is the third possibility, more philosophical, more haunting. It is called the dark forest hypothesis, a theory drawn from the writings of scientists and storytellers alike. It begins with a simple question. If the galaxy is so vast, filled with stars and planets, where is everyone? Why have we not heard from other civilizations? The answer, in this view, is silence born of fear. Imagine the galaxy as a dark forest. Each civilization is a hunter, moving silently, cautious not to reveal its position. For in a forest, to reveal yourself is to risk being seen, and to be seen is to risk being destroyed. In such a forest, the wise move quietly, hiding their fire, masking their presence. If this is true, then perhaps objects like 3I Atlas are not accidents at all. Perhaps they are scouts, moving quietly, gathering information. Their task is not to announce themselves, but to observe, to measure, to decide. Are we safe? Are we dangerous? Are we ready? The thought chills, and yet it is not without beauty. For even in a dark forest, silence is not absence. It is a presence unspoken, a community unseen. The forest is alive, even if it does not speak. Have you ever walked through a quiet wood at night, hearing no voices, seeing no figures, yet knowing you are not alone? That is the feeling of the dark forest hypothesis. And perhaps, as we watch 3I Atlas slip through our skies, it is watching us in return. These three possibilities, natural strangeness, deliberate craft, cosmic caution, are not answers but invitations. Each one leads us to wonder. Each one reminds us that mystery is not a void but a landscape, rich and varied, through which we wander slowly, gently, like dreamers under the stars. Speculative theories. The beauty of speculation lies not in certainty, but in possibility. With 3I Atlas, the data gave us puzzles, and the puzzles gave us room to imagine. Scientists remained cautious, but curiosity spilled into quiet corners, into whispered conversations, into the dreams of those who gazed upward at night. Revisiting natural explanations. Let us linger first with the natural theories. Some scientists reminded us that the universe is endlessly creative. They pointed to volcanic moons, to planets with diamond rain, to stars that pulsate in strange rhythms. All of these once seemed impossible, and yet nature revealed them. Why should Atlas be any different? In laboratories, chemists attempted to recreate the conditions under which nickel might separate from iron. In computer models, Astrophysicists simulated star systems where carbon dioxide was abundant and water scarce. Their results were imperfect, but they hinted that the anomalies might, with time, find natural roots. Have you ever seen a cloud shaped like an animal? At first it seems deliberate, almost designed. But in truth it is simply chance, wind and vapor sculpted by currents unseen. Perhaps Atlas is like that, strange in form yet natural in cause. A comet unlike any we have seen, but still a comet. And yet, even those who favored natural explanations admitted unease. They knew that some anomalies stretched the boundaries of probability. Nature is strange, but is it this strange? Deepening the probe hypothesis. For others, the strangeness itself was the point. They asked, what if Atlas is not simply a comet? What if it is a probe? A craft? A relic from another intelligence? The idea sounds bold, but remember, ʻOumuamua had already opened that door. When Avi Loeb suggested it might be a light sail, the world listened. Some laughed, some criticized, but many wondered. If one interstellar object could inspire such a thought, why not another? Supporters of this hypothesis pointed to the anomalies as clues. Nickel without iron, could it be refined material? A fog of carbon dioxide, could it be intentional shielding? The improbable trajectory, could it be navigation? The brightness that flickered irregularly, could it be signal? Each puzzle piece seen in this light seemed less like chance and more like design. Imagine, for a moment, a civilization older than ours, capable of sending probes across light years. To them, our solar system would be just one stop in a long journey. Atlas could be such a scout, drifting silently, observing planets, perhaps even listening to the faint radio signals we have been broadcasting for little more than a century. Would you feel wonder, knowing that eyes unseen might be watching us? Or would you feel small, like a child suddenly aware of being observed? The dark forest, reconsidered. And then there is the darker thought, the one that unsettles even in its elegance. The dark forest. If the galaxy is alive with civilizations, why do we not hear them? Perhaps, say some, it is because survival demands silence. In a forest filled with hunters, the wise do not call out. Seen in this way, Atlas could be a reconnaissance mission, a quiet visitor meant not to announce but to assess. Its veil of carbon dioxide could be camouflage. Its trajectory, threading past planets, could be a survey. Its silence, its refusal to show a nucleus, could be deliberate, a way of hiding. In this view, the galaxy is not empty but cautious. Civilizations move like shadows, silent and watchful. To reveal yourself is to risk being destroyed. Better than to send scouts to observe quietly, to remain hidden. Have you ever walked in a dark forest at night, careful with every step, your breath held, your voice silent, knowing that any sound might reveal you? That is the feeling this hypothesis carries. A universe alive but hushed. A cosmos filled not with noise, but with quiet tension. Humanity between theories. The truth, of course, may be none of these. Or it may be some mixture, some explanation we cannot yet imagine. What matters is that these theories remind us of the richness of possibility. Natural or artificial, accidental or deliberate, Atlas forces us to look outward, to stretch our imagination, to see ourselves within a larger story. Scientists may not embrace speculation openly, but even they, in quiet moments, admit the thrill. To live in a time when we can detect interstellar travelers, to wonder about their nature, to place ourselves in a galaxy alive with questions. This is a privilege. And for us, listening in the stillness of night, speculation becomes more than science. It becomes meditation. For each theory, whether natural, crafted, or concealed, invites us to reflect not only on Atlas, but on ourselves. And so, dear listener, our journey with 3i Atlas draws to a close. We have wandered together through its mysteries, the nickel that stood without iron, the veil of carbon dioxide that hid its heart, the trajectory that seemed almost deliberate. We have compared it to earlier visitors, ʻOumuamua and Borisov, and we have let our minds wander through the possibilities, from natural strangeness to crafted probes, from scientific puzzles to the quiet shadows of the dark forest. What remains certain is uncertainty itself. 3i Atlas has come and gone, a traveler older than our world, carrying secrets it has chosen not to share. Its presence reminds us of how little we know, and how much remains to be discovered. It whispers to us that the universe is alive, restless, filled with wonders beyond our grasp. But perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the beauty lies not in solving every riddle, but in knowing that they exist, that the cosmos still has the power to astonish us. To live in mystery is not a weakness, it is a gift. It is what keeps us looking upward, asking questions, dreaming dreams. So as you rest now, let those dreams be gentle. Imagine the vast night sky above you, stars scattered like grains of sand across an infinite shore. Imagine Atlas, already far away, fading into the dark between the stars, still carrying its riddles, still traveling onward. Imagine that you, too, are part of this journey, a small spark of awareness drifting through the same cosmic sea. And as your eyes grow heavy, let the questions drift too. Let go of the need for answers. Let go of the weight of wonder. Allow yourself to be carried, as gently as Atlas drifts through the void, into the quiet, timeless space of sleep. For the universe will still be here tomorrow, and the mysteries will wait for you. Tonight, your only task is to rest, to breathe, to dream. As you drift away, remember, the cosmos is vast, mysterious, and endlessly unfolding, and you are part of it. Always, good night, beautiful dreamer. Sleep well, and may the stars watch gently over you. In the end, perhaps the most profound mysteries of 3i Atlas are not about chemistry or trajectories, but about us. How do we, as humans, respond to such a visitor? What does it stir within us, lying here beneath the stars, listening to the story of something older than Earth itself? For some, it awakens wonder. The thought that our galaxy is alive with travelers, fragments of worlds beyond, reminds us that we are part of something vast. For others, it awakens humility, a recognition of how small we are, how brief our lives are, compared to the ages of stone and ice drifting through the void. And for still others, it awakens fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear that we are not alone. Yet fear and wonder are twins, born of the same truth. The universe is greater than we can grasp. Imagine standing on a shoreline at night. The waves come and go, endless, each one carrying a whisper from the deep. You cannot see the whole ocean, only the foam at your feet. But you know, in your bones, that it stretches far beyond the horizon. That is what it is like to live beneath the stars. Atlas is one wave among countless, and yet it reminds us of the ocean itself. Have you ever felt very small, yet strangely comforted by that smallness? To realize that your worries, your fears, your struggles are but tiny sparks against the backdrop of eternity? That is the gift of looking outward. The vastness does not erase us, it holds us. Like the night sky holds every star, it holds us too. When we speak of probes, of trajectories, of gases and metals, we are really speaking of ourselves. We are asking, are we alone? Do we matter? Are we ready to meet what lies beyond? These are questions as old as firelight, as old as the first human who looked up and wondered. And perhaps the answer is simple. Perhaps we are meant not to know, but to ask. To live in the space between certainty and mystery. To find peace not in conclusions, but in the act of wondering. Let your breathing slow as you think of this. Inhale gently. Exhale gently. Picture the stars above you, thousands of them, each one a sun, each one a story. Somewhere out there, fragments drift, ʻOumuamua, Borisov, Atlas, and countless others unseen. They move silently, indifferent to our questions, yet inspiring them all the same. Is it not beautiful that the universe still surprises us? That even now, with telescopes orbiting Earth, with instruments reaching across light years, we can still be humbled by a faint shimmer of light, a puzzle without a solution. Perhaps the meaning of Atlas is not about aliens, nor about chemistry, but about humility. To remind us that we are explorers, yes, but also dreamers. That we live not only in houses and cities, but in a cosmos that cradles us, whether we notice or not. So as you drift into sleep, let these thoughts linger. You are small, but you are not insignificant. You are part of the same universe that sends wanderers like Atlas into our skies. You are part of the same story, written in the same starlight. And if, tomorrow, another object is discovered, another messenger from afar, you will already know how to welcome it. Not with fear, not with certainty, but with wonder. Always wonder. And so, dear listener, our journey with 3i Atlas draws to a close. We have wandered together through its mysteries, the nickel that stood without iron, the veil of carbon dioxide that hid its heart, the trajectory that seemed almost deliberate. We have compared it to earlier visitors, ʻOumuamua and Borisov, and we have let our minds wander through the possibilities, from natural strangeness to crafted probes, from scientific puzzles to the quiet shadows of the dark forest. What remains certain is uncertainty itself. 3i Atlas has come and gone, a traveler older than our world, carrying secrets it has chosen not to share. Its presence reminds us of how little we know, and how much remains to be discovered. It whispers to us that the universe is alive, restless, filled with wonders beyond our grasp. But perhaps that is enough. Perhaps the beauty lies not in solving every riddle, but in knowing that they exist, that the cosmos still has the power to astonish us. To live in mystery is not a weakness, it is a gift. It is what keeps us looking upward, asking questions, dreaming dreams. So as you rest now, let those dreams be gentle. Imagine the vast night sky above you, stars scattered like grains of sand across an infinite shore. Imagine Atlas, already far away, fading into the dark between the stars, still carrying its riddles, still traveling onward. Imagine that you, too, are part of this journey, a small spark of awareness drifting through the same cosmic sea. And as your eyes grow heavy, let the questions drift too. Let go of the need for answers. Let go of the weight of wonder. Allow yourself to be carried, as gently as Atlas drifts through the void, into the quiet, timeless space of sleep. For the universe will still be here tomorrow, and the mysteries will wait for you. Tonight, your only task is to rest, to breathe, to dream. As you drift away, remember, the cosmos is vast, mysterious, and endlessly unfolding, and you are part of it. Always, good night, beautiful dreamer. Sleep well, and may the stars watch gently over you.